Welcome back, Blake here, and I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining us on our previous coffee breaks. If you would take a moment to like and subscribe, it really helps us with our channel, growing our channel, and that's something we want to do this year. But I'm going to hop right into today's topic, which is going to be morning routine and just routines in general. I got inspired this week watching a YouTuber, Tim, and so I'll get into that in a little bit, but I just want to just welcome you guys and say what's up to Michael. What's up, Michael?
What's up, everyone? What's up, Blake? How's your morning going?
Today my morning's going pretty good. I have my morning routine that I'm working on, and
Love
it's a
that.
really great way to start the day. So I think that's it's really interesting because I'm like maybe a week or two into this being intentional about my morning routine, not just kind of waking up, making coffee, and just turning into a Tasmanian devil,
Right.
but taking some time to be intentional. And like I said, I was inspired by this guy, Tim Dessaint. I'd stumbled across his YouTube, and he's a fashion YouTuber, and he's awesome. But in his page, I mean, dude, honestly, I've learned so much from this guy in the last couple of weeks. Even how I'm doing my laundry, I'm doing my laundry a little different.
Nice.
It's kind of always
That's
been
cool.
a nightmare, Laundry's always kind of been a nightmare.
Yeah.
But he breaks it down, and it's really good. That's another topic for another day. And I'll
Love
link
that.
his YouTube in our description so people can find him. But he has a morning routine, and he talks about what his morning routine is, and mine's different than his. But I think when I took the time and I've kind of cultivated it, I've got a little note, and I've been changing. Here's my morning routine, and it's
Love
basically and
that.
I drink water, let my dog out, breathing exercise. I do a little meditative deal, stretch, make my bed, cook breakfast, look at my calendar, brush, floss, wash face, get dressed. And so
Nice.
now, if I wake up enough, there's things that I drop off, if it's like a rush or whatever. But yeah, is there anything that kind of like as I even start to unravel this to you, like, is there anything that comes to your mind or thoughts?
No, there's kind of so many things that are firing off, but
Yeah.
I've been sort of on this like kind of train of thought for a while now, since probably so I'm like 37, so since the age of probably like around 34, 35 is when I started really to start reflecting on mental health and just like a healthy whole like lifestyle in general. Coming kind of from living from my like subconscious to like consciousness, kind of dissociated, like just kind of living for the moment to actually like living in the present and being healthy. And this is like a huge key to health, holistic like health, but mental health specifically is like routines. And so, like morning routines, also evening routines are extremely important, I'm finding, because evening routines actually can set you up for the morning routine, and they
Hmm.
can kind of work together to where, like, you're, getting a certain amount of sleep and
Yeah.
having, the kind of wind down routine of similar breath work, meditation. I like to connect with Jessica, my wife, before going to bed and have some time of vulnerability or talk about the day or just have some time of lighthearted conversation or whatever it is, but connecting with her, meditating, and trying to wind down my brain before going to sleep. And then my routine's similar to yours, waking up in the morning, and it's not always perfect. And when I'm at my peak, my morning routine is awesome. When I'm like
Hmm.
feeling low or feeling down or having sort of anxiety or depression or whatever, my morning routines might fall off.
Hmm.
And so, actually, if I can share this, recently I have like kind of found that happening where I was like kind of doing really good, having like good healthy routines, habits, taking good care of myself, eating healthy, working out, the whole thing. And I've kind of like slowly kind of tapered off on that and found myself sort of going to a lower sort of having less energy, not working out as much, not eating healthy as much, and not having my morning routine.
Hmm.
So, as I've kind of identified some of these things in my life that have pulled me away from this, I've kind of gone back to the beginning. The
Hmm.
square one for me is a morning routine.
Hmm. Hmm.
And So that's been for about 3 weeks, and my morning routines look like for the last 3 weeks. It's looked like getting up a little bit earlier, um, brushing my teeth, and then turning on some like quiet music, sitting in a quiet room, and just sitting with no distractions, and really going in doing some breath work and some meditation.
Yeah.
And from that place, I feel like that sort of I'm energized to sort of take on the day
Yeah.
instead of just getting up, going to my phone, starting emails, starting looking at what my clients look like for the day, and just getting in the hustle bustle of the day, but actually just being intentional about my morning, slowing down and having that little bit of routine.
Yeah, I love, and I want to pause because we could go so deep into what we do in our morning routines and what to
Right.
do. But one of the big things before we pass over, because we could lose a lot of people, like, how do I do this? Or like, man, I'm not
Right.
going to do all this
That's
stuff.
what I was going to ask you too.
So one of the big things Tim shared in his video was essentially, and I've heard this before, but when you make your bed, like everyone says, make your bed in the morning, and like, well, and he's like, why would I ever make my bed? It's like, why would I make my bed just to mess it up again? But there's something that happens in our brain when we do a simple task. And so
Right.
this is kind of the book Atomic Habits, but getting into that too. So when you make your bed, so I think that we can all relate, or I can relate, and a lot of people can relate, that you go about your life doing a bunch of stuff that you don't need to do, or there's other things that you would rather be doing with your time, whether it be like
Right.
you're stuck just Netflix binging or whatever. But it starts with these little decisions in the morning that
Yes.
don't, like 1 minute decisions, like brushing your teeth first thing, making your bed. It starts to your brain starts to believe that it can do what it sets out to do. So
So good, bro.
that when you do these little things, make your bed, brush your teeth, then all of a sudden you're writing books. You know what I mean? Or like
Right.
that's what gets you
Absolutely.
to those big things.
Right. It's like it's this analogy where like an oak tree does
Mm-hmm.
not start an oak tree, it starts a seed
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in soil.
Mm-hmm.
And then it grows up through a progression of becoming this massive oak tree with this massive root system.
Mm-hmm.
In likeness, we are the same, where we kind of have this vision of like we are an oak tree and we have these massive aspirations, and like what it takes to get from A to Z,
Mm-hmm.
is there's a lot of ground there to cover. But we think like, oh, well, we can just start at Z.
Mm-hmm.
But there's these tiny little habits from A to Z that make bigger decisions and bigger habits much easier.
Yeah.
Exactly like you're saying.
Yeah.
So starting with those, if my goal is I want to do an hour of breath work and meditation, I'm going to start with 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
once a week, twice a week,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and continue as I grow in that. It gets more. That 5 minutes turns to 10 minutes. That 10
Yeah.
minutes turns to 20 minutes. That 20 minutes turns to 40 minutes. So practically,
Yeah.
how do you build that out? Like, what would that list look like if you were starting day one today? You had
Mm-hmm.
no more. Your mornings were a mess. You just got up, got on your phone, got started. You were frantic.
Yeah.
You needed a morning routine. What would that look like for you day one?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, just to go back, by morning routine, before I even considered what a morning routine is, it was wake up, make coffee. It's like got to get the coffee going. And and so as I begin to think about like what's best for myself, well, for me it was actually getting on a note and kind of writing down what I think a good routine would look like. Um, so I think it's a combination of being intentional for me about writing down what my routine would look like. I got inspired by this guy Tim. That's kind of what started it all. And the what happened is I happened to have, it was like like two things hit me, and it was like an explosion of freedom. It was like I listened to this podcast on Atomic Habits. They kind of, these girls, they're business girls, they read these books and they kind of break down what they got from it. And so it was
Okay.
the mixture of me being intentional and then realizing, so Atomic Habits, one of the principles is you you do these very small tasks, and you set
Right.
these cues up. So if I want to meditate, which in the morning I want to do deep breaths, so I at night make sure the room that I love in my house the most is clear and ready for me in the morning. And so
Nice.
I just know that it's so, since I've kind of prepared it, I lay the blanket out. And so when I wake up, walk out, I see that blanket. So that's a cue. So their reason was like, if you want to be a runner every day, just set your running shoes next to your bed. You'll look at it, it's a cue. It makes it easier to make that decision. You're putting these cues in place. And so eventually you're just going to put those shoes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those
That's
are
beautiful.
those are the big ones. Another really cool, while we're on this, another really cool way to get a habit in your life that you're having a hard time getting in. Like for me, it's learning Korean. 안녕하세요, Brister Blake, Sibnida, I think. So so what I've been doing is if I make coffee, which I love, you pair a habit that you love with a habit that you don't, or you're having a hard time developing. So every time I drink coffee, I've opened my Korean app now. And so I've done the Korean, seriously, I've done it every day since then. And it's been couple weeks.
Nice.
That's
brilliant.
So those are some tricks.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I was just having the conversation with my wife right before this call of like, just having like these like tiny habits. And for me, like, okay, one of the things is when I don't have the energy to do something like massive, but there needs to be a change in my life. Mm-hmm. I can always go to something as simple as, all right, so how do I nourish my soul if I don't have like a lot of energy, like to get to the gym or whatever it is in the moment? How do I nourish my soul into having more energy? And a lot of what I'm finding is stillness and food. So specific kinds of like food that will bring me energy, and then I have like it grows into something bigger. So, and then that also has helped me with my diet, like as I'm recognizing these small little changes in what I eat makes me feel better, it gives me more energy. It starts to get more intentional. My diet starts to get better throughout the day. And then the next thing you know, I'm eating better 3 days or 1 week or 2 weeks. But it starts from just that one small decision of like, all right, in the morning, I'm going to make a smoothie, and I'm going to drink that smoothie, and I'm going to sit in some stillness.
Yeah. So you're talking about getting the energy right now. You're talking about if I'm not feeling the energy, instead of saying like, man, I need to get this energy to go to the gym, you take a moment to step back like 100 feet and you say, actually, I don't just need to create energy out of nowhere. I need to first focus on what I'm putting in my body to give it the energy it needs to go do the gym stuff.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Exactly.
And that's helpful.
And it starts as that tiny little habit of like, all right, I'm gonna sit in stillness for 5 minutes.
Tiny habit.
Yeah, that tiny habit. I'm gonna sit in stillness for 5 minutes, and I'm gonna drink this healthy smoothie, and I'm gonna allow it to bring nourishment to my soul, to my body, and that grows over time.
Man.
That one little tiny habit.
Man, so, it's all about it.
I love it. What's something that like you've seen that's been a positive thing that's happened in your life since your morning routine has started?
Okay. I don't know if this is this plays into this, but seriously, profound. I feel for the first time in my life, I am really more about, I don't know how to phrase this. I'm less attracted, and I think this is all the atomic habit stuff, but I'm less attracted or less motivated by the goals that are in my life, which I really could even care less about the goals that are in my life right now. But I think goals are great, but I'm not striving to get to the destination. I'm enjoying becoming the person that gets to that place.
That's beautiful.
just becoming the person that achieves those goals. So working on these habits. So if I want to be someone who speaks Korean, I'm not just like, oh God, every day I want to learn Korean so I can speak to my mother-in-law. And like when I get there, I'll finally be happy. I'm like, no, I'm going to become a person that learns Korean. Actually, I'm going to become a person that learns languages. So my goal is like, if I drink coffee every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to learn Korean. And then eventually I'm going to go learn Italian and then whatever, you know what I mean? And that's,
I love that.
there's a lot of joy in the process is what's been happening for me through this.
I love that, man. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. What
You're on
about?
another level, Blake.
Well, what about you,
Next
man?
level. Well, for me, it's been a lot of peace.
Okay.
I have an immense amount of peace, like in my mind, in my soul, and it's also just been there's been lots of fruit from it. It's from that peace has been more joy. It's been more surrender. There's been more freedom, more connection with my 4 children, my wife, more emotional capacity to show up for them, to be present for them, to give them excess of what I have because I have inner peace and joy and strength. And so a lot of that's coming from like me waking up in the morning and starting these like tiny little habits that are growing into big oak trees. And it's beautiful. My children are like benefiting from it. You know, my daughter, this is a side thing, but it's beautiful. I have to share it.
Yeah.
I'm laying in bed with my daughters last night and they're going to sleep, and I'm laying on the bottom bunk bed with my oldest, and my youngest, we could talk about this topic. I know we're out of time, but real quick, my youngest peeks her head over, or my second daughter, my 9-year-old, peeks her head over the bed and she says, "You know, Dad, you know what's weird about me?" She says, "I'm really beautiful, but sometimes my hair is kind of messy. I'm really patient, but sometimes I'm not as patient. I'm really kind, but sometimes I'm not as kind." And I
Interesting.
just like had this moment of like, oh my gosh, this is profound. I'm like, who
Yeah.
told you this?
Yeah.
She says, "I just noticed." And I'm like, Zoe, like, we are the best of ourselves and we are the worst of ourselves. And as we get to know those parts of ourselves and accept those parts of ourselves, we get to choose to be our true selves, which is the better part of that, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just this like beautiful moment and this awareness that I had that like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to be present with this
Mm-hmm.
because of the tiny habits that I'm doing to work on myself
Yeah.
and the peace that it's creating inside of me. And I can be present with my 9-year-old and her sharing this profound moment that I am learning so much about, you know?
Wow.
So,
How many 9-year-olds get passed over every day because the adult or can't be present? And that's not to shame anybody, but it's just
no.
really cool that you get to witness this time of your 9-year-old reflecting on her emotions. Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's so cool.
So
Man.
I feel like, you know, a lot of this is coming from these like, you know, little habits that are changing me. I haven't always been this way. And I definitely haven't always had as much peace. And so,
man, that's so
tailored
good.
different for everyone. It looks different for everyone. Everyone has different needs. They're in a different journey. They're in a different part of their process. They need something specifically for them where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And if you sit with that long enough, it will kind of reveal itself to you, I think.
It's good, man. It's good. Well, for everybody who watched today, if there's any habits that you're trying to, small habits that you're trying to start, leave us a comment in the below. We'd love to hear about how that's going. And I think that we're going to wrap it up. I know that Michael, you got another appointment here coming. And so
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. All the love. Work on your habits. And just the smallest one that you can think of. That's the most important one.
Yeah, we'll put a post on Instagram asking how, you know, what some habits that are working for everyone, and we'll share those responses. We'll do that this week.
Cool. Love it.
All right.
Peace, everybody. Thank you.